I've worked on a couple of other things actually in Whidbey as well. I started out, the first part of Whidbey I actually did a couple of UI redesign areas. We have a new docking model. I don't know if you've seen that at all yet in Whidbey, but
a little bit, yeah.
The target-based docking model where you get those little glyphs that pop up, that was one of the things that I worked on. And so, basically what we kind of do is we try and, in that case, what we were really doing was targeting, both in the docking model case and in the help case, we were targeting kind of issue areas where we had customer feedback where people weren't happy. And we were trying to figure out, all right, what do we need to do? Because we knew what the problem was, but we didn't know what the solution was.
How do people give you feedback? When they get Whidbey, where do they go to gripe?
Well, we get a bunch of feedback. We get feedback in a bunch of different ways. A lot of feedback comes from, going to conferences, talking to people in person. That's a really good way. We do, things like the MVP summits where the MVPs come in, where we do focus groups. For the help redesign, we've done a lot of focus groups. The way we actually worked on that problem was, once we kind of had the scope of the problem, we did what we like to call a deep dive, and we actually got a group of people together. We had, I think it was 7 or 8 people from a whole bunch of different parts of inside the Visual Studio, like inside of Eric Rudder's organization, which is quite large, so you have to pull people around. And what we did is we met every day, 4 hours a day, for 5 days a week for 4 weeks. And we basically came in the very beginning and we said, for the people who were coming in, we said, bring all the customer requirements that you have right now for feedback, bring all the feedback you've had on the help system. And what do people like? What don't people like? Do we have outstanding bugs in a particular area? Are there things that, we cut features and shouldn't have? Or, any information that we have. And we actually spent the first week, and actually we had one of our usability people actually act as a moderator, kind of to drive the whole process, which works really well. And we basically spent a week kind of everybody digesting all the information that we had. And what we did is we took over an office that was empty at the time, and we just started taping stuff up on the walls and drawing pictures and posting documents and, post-it notes. And the office guys do some very similar types of things. And so what we did is, so we basically got all the requirements out. We kind of weeded out all the kind of duplicate infringe things and that sort of stuff. We put all that together, and then we spent the next week kind of bringing all that together to create a product definition of okay, here's what we think the problems are, and here are the things that we think we need to solve. And so we did that for a week, and we worked on this every day. And it's really interesting because 8 people from, I think we had 8 people. I think it was 5 different teams that they were from. So you had a lot of differing opinions in there. So there was a lot of kind of arguments and discussions about, no, this is important, no, this is important. And so we worked through all of that, and then what we did is, at the end, for the last week, well, I guess that leaves us 1 other week. So I guess it was 2 weeks doing a lot of all the distillation and that sort of thing. And we did once we got all that together, we kind of created this story down a wall where we could kind of walk people through the problems. And we brought in a whole bunch of people from around the division, like some managers and just some other PMs that we work with. And so we walked them through the story and said, does this make sense? What do you guys think of this? And people would give us feedback, and so we'd tweak things around a little bit. And so once we kind of got that stabilized, then we spent a week and we actually created visual mock-ups of a design that we thought, basically kind of like a storyboard walkthrough of what we thought the feature would look like. And we ended up doing that. We actually divided into 2 groups, and we created 2 competing designs. And then we got back together. So we did that for 3 days, and then we got back together for the last couple of days, and we kind of merged the best of those designs together. And once we were done with that, then we actually took that and we went out and started doing usability studies and focus groups. And Microsoft internally has this internal group where you can say, I want to test a help system, and I want Visual Basic developers who have 2 years of experience, and I want C# developers who have 10 years of experience. They'll find you all these people. So we did that in the lab, got a whole bunch of feedback, iterated on the designs, and so we went through that, and then we also we went to the PDC, for example, last year. And we actually, at the PDC last year, PDC or Tech, I'm sorry, TechEd, we did both. But at TechEd, what we actually did is we put a forum at the Visual Studio booth, and we said, we're doing focus groups, answer these questions, and if you're a candidate for what we're trying to do, we'll select you and give you a T-shirt and whatever. So we got a ton of people who were interested in doing that, and we did the same thing at the PDC in the fall to really kind of validate our tests. So last summers were really on paper. We had to give people paper pictures and say, what do you think about these? Here's scenarios, walk through these. Is this how you work? and that sort of thing. In the fall, we had running code, so we could actually have them try things. And we videotape them, and we watch them, and watch where they stumble, and what works really well, and iterate on the designs again, and that sort of thing. Okay. So that's kind of what the process has been for the past year and a half, wow. Kind of going through it. And the interesting thing about the help system is that you've got a lot of people contributing to it. It's not like one team owns end-to-end everything. So from inside, we've got a lot of people that we have to kind of keep focused and aligned to solve these core set of problems. And you've got a diverse set of developer requirements, because the VC developer who does ATL development works in a very different style than the VB developer, who writes WinForm apps, and compare them to the VB developer that does Office automation through macros. Yet again, another style. So, trying to kind of bring all that together and get our hands around it all and come up with a system that works well for everybody